And this is what's hot. Like, the reason why I wanted her to talk about sale promotions is last year, $85,000 of that was sale promotions. Like, that is insane. She mentors with Luke and Josh in their business and sales accelerator program. And I'm sure she does their sale promo max consistently as well. But she's just also just a super cool person to be around. She loves to travel. She's a fitness trainer. She's a woman of many trades for sure. I think one of my favorite things about Stacie, though, is she is just so focused on building great relationships with everybody she comes into contact with, whether it's within Cutco, whether it's with her customers. She just loves up on everybody and has a really big heart. And it really shows in her business and her results, as a person. So super excited to have Stacie talking to us here today. So I'll let her take it away.
Thank you. You guys make me feel like I'm like a celebrity here. I thought it was funny, Brian, when you brought up the video. I just ran into somebody the other day. He's a DM in like Georgia or something, and I was like, "Hey, out of curiosity, do you use the training videos?" And he was like, "Oh my gosh, that's you! You're that girl." That's really funny. But I am so excited and just honored to be on this agenda for such an incredible group. Thank you guys so much for having me here, having me be a part of this. And what I really love about this group is you guys are constantly investing in yourselves for the better, that you want to learn, you want to know. Just want to recognize you guys for that, especially when, during the last year that might have been a little bit more difficult of a decision to make at certain times. It's definitely a lot easier to sit at home and collect unemployment rather than find ways to innovate your business, challenge yourself, and grow as an entrepreneur and an individual. And now you're here. So we're hungry to continue that journey, right? I'm not here to rehash 2020. Some of you guys had your best year ever. Sure, maybe it didn't really go as planned, but you really grinded to hit a goal and surpass what you'd done before. And some of y'all felt like your goal was completely unreachable, could not quite grasp this new way of running your business. It was a huge struggle and challenge on top of everything else going on. And some of y'all might have just been rolling with the punches and saying, "Hey, I'll take what I can get and try to make the most of the situation." But at this point now, it's been a little bit over a year since the whole COVID thing rolled out, right? But I can imagine, was anybody caught off guard this past year by the effects that COVID would have on their business? Yes or yes, right? So for the last 3 to 4 years, I've made a much more dialed in focus on my past customer sales as a pillar of my business. And I'm not perfect. This has taken a lot of time to get to this level. However, I was able to have 100% unwavering confidence going into at least the last 3 months, or these specific 3 months. Last year was May, August, and December for me. And those 3 months are when I run my various sale promotions. So 2019 was the first year where I really started to see some results. I had been actively marketing to my customers for about 4 years at that point. And it was the first year where I did over $50,000 in just sale promotions. It was a little less than about 20% of my business that year, but obviously it was worth it. And much to my March and April self-dismay for 2020, I ended up clocking in at the end of 2020 just over 260K, having my best year ever. But almost 1/3 of my business last year was strictly from my sale promotions. I totaled 84,263 between May, August, and holiday sales. And that does not reflect the total of my past customer business. It's strictly the results from those 3 sale promotions. It is something I am incredibly proud of, and I'm excited to continue to hone in on this because I know there's just a next level that I haven't quite reached yet. So I'm excited to cross the 6-figure sales promotion line this year. Right now, for my current sale, I'm at about 14.5, going for at least 30, and then up from there. So I don't say all this to impress y'all, but more so just to impress upon you the value of incorporating this and sharpening the axe of this pillar in your business. So I do participate in Josh and Luke's Sale Promo Max program that they do around the holidays. Definitely something that I really leaned into, especially last year. And a lot of what I've learned it relates exactly to this program. So you guys might have heard some of what I'm going to talk about today, but if anything, that just shows you just how important that information is. And my goal for y'all is just to see how simple it really is to replicate and really kickstart your year with this area of opportunity. So we're going to focus on three main things. The first part is strategic promotion through various mediums. So strategic promotion through various mediums. The second is going to be fortune is in the follow-up. Fortune is in the follow-up. And third thing is going to be what I saw as my areas of opportunity that I wanted to share with you guys for this year. So starting out with strategic promotion, I know all of you guys have probably run a sales promotion here or there, obviously. So I'm not going to be too cut and dry with it, but really, when it comes to strategic promotion, you want to focus on value and gratitude before the sale promotion, using various mediums in conjunction with each other and designating certain days for certain mediums. So what do I mean by that? I don't typically send out an email and a text for a promotion in the same day. I want them to count as like two separate touches. I want to be able to qualify, okay, this was from an email, this was from a text message. The other thing is that with an effective sale promotion, it starts way before the sale actually starts. One thing that we hear a lot in this business is know me, like me, trust me, pay me. And value and service are going to take precedence over sales. So in order to have an effective sales promotion campaign, you must also have an effective value-added communication strategy. So a lot of y'all probably use the content emails from Back to Action. Those are amazing. Things like sending out gratitude texts, anything you can really do to keep top of mind awareness. One thing that Amy Muller talks about a lot is the 3-to-1 ratio of having 3 value-added communications for every 1 sale communication. So 3 value or gratitude-centered communications for every 1 sale communication. And a gratitude text is something that is an absolute must. That's how I ended 2020, was just a nice big text to all of my customers saying how grateful I was just for having them as part of my family, for helping me create my best year ever. I did not have any intention of selling anything. Of course, it did yield something, but I really just wanted to show appreciation for my customers, and that's a really big focus that I take a lot of pride in. So the main areas that you're going to focus on are going to be texting, phone calls, email, voice drops, physical mail, and social media. So a lot of you guys have experience with all of these probably, but really just a couple of main things to focus on are having your list prepared ahead of time. So think about who all is going to be getting your email. Can you easily remove them if they tell you that they're not interested? Same thing with text messages. I focus on sending my promotion out to people who have not purchased within the last 30 days. And that's a really easy query that you can just make right in your Vast Action. And then I add them to a texting list for that specific sale promotion. So I create a list called 2021 Spring Sale Promotion Text List. And then when they tell me that they're good for now or they don't want to buy anything, instead of having to unsubscribe them completely, I can just remove them right from the list and they don't have to get the rest of the text I'll send for the sale promo. My sale promotions do usually run for about 3.5 weeks. So my current sale promotion started on April 26th. That was a Monday. And then through the full extension and everything, it's going until May 19th. I keep a very simple schedule and I do the exact same thing every single sales campaign. So essentially it starts off with a launch. Next week is a reminder. The week after that is the last chance. And then I always do an extension. And I know some people might fight me on this one or be like, oh, you don't have to do an extension, but I can tell you that I have had some of my biggest sales come from just extending a sale promotion. The way that I kind of explain it to somebody is like, I don't know, one of those good clothing brands, Aerie is one that I buy from a lot that is so consistently good at this. So they send me a sale, I get the email, I look, and then I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And then they send me for 24 hours only, sale extended, blah, blah. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now I got to buy. And that's when I go to buy. And even though I've seen all their communications, I got their texts, I got their emails, but it just didn't pull me yet. So anyway, just a little plug for always doing an extension. So like I said, general layout of my sales promotion in terms of outgoing promotions is going to be email one day, text the next day, and then phone calls throughout the week. So typically I'm sending out an email on a Monday and then my text on Tuesday. And then I'll do either like voice drops, phone calls, stuff like that throughout the week. I do also, like I mentioned, an initial launch. And then the next week I do a reminder, then I do a last chance, and then I do an extension. Even if you just implement email and text, you can run a very, very effective sales promotion. Now, in terms of like an initial text, like what might that look like? I like to keep my text very simple. My launch text is pretty much always the same. It's just, hey, blank, wanted to let you know my spring sale just started, or whatever the theme of the sale is. Let me know if there's anything you need for yourself or gifts. Happy to get you an awesome deal. Either way, thanks for being a great client. And then that's your Cutco gal, Stacie. She's got chops.com. So I put my website. And it's just really easy just to send that initial text. And then the follow-up from there just continues to do the same thing pretty much every week. It's like, hey, I'm close to hitting my goal, offering great deals for a few more days. Text back if you want a price quote. I always try and leave them with some sort of action-oriented thing with a text message, like, hey, text me back if you want a price quote. Let me know if there's something you might be thinking about so I can quote you a deal. Would you still like a quote? Things like that. And then I also, with social media, there's a ton of social media approved photos in the Vast Action Library, also on Vector Connect. I did start incorporating social media on the same day that I send out an email. Just tends to be a different audience for my email. As far as phone calls go, those are a must throughout your sale. And you want to make a big focus on at least the people that are clicking in your email. I imagine most of you guys know how to pull a click list, but just in case, you go to an email, click on the email, you can see all of your people who clicked throughout the email, and just pull those as a list and just call those people, because you know that they're at least interested. They decided to click on the email and look through. And it's really easy calling those people. Just pretty much act like it's a check-in call, essentially, is what I kind of do. Where I'm like, hey, just wanted to check in with you. It's your Cutco gal. How you doing? Did you happen to get my email I sent the other day? I'm just calling through all my customers because I'm close to hitting my goal. So I wanted to see if there's anything you kind of sort of even remotely are considering getting that I can just offer you a great deal on. And that's essentially my focus, just going through any objections, their wish list. I love starting off with a win. So I really focus on people that have a wish list first, or that have clicked on something or have already indicated some sort of interest. I personally utilize a voice drop to my open list. So the people who have opened an email but might not have clicked, if I just find I'm too overwhelmed with calls sometimes after my last chance marketing. Or you can outsource to an assistant. I just personally feel that calls are best made by the rep. And then just because, one more plug, I always want to say run an extension. It is so important. My sale technically ends on Friday, but I'm extending it through the end of, through next Wednesday. Giving them like a few extra days there just to process any leftover orders, stuff that didn't end up coming up yet. Next thing I want to talk about is just follow-up. This is going to be probably the biggest part of my talk here. So fortune is in the follow-up, and the biggest thing about that is going to be organization. I already talked about how really a good sale promotion, an effective one, is going to be created before the sale even starts. So I mentioned having lists before. I make sure that I have a click list, I have a text list, I have an email marketing list, I have a list of people who have ordered. I also have a list of people who are not interested. The reason I keep all of these things the way they are, especially once somebody orders, I want to keep track of who's purchased from me during sale promotions, because those are great people to have like a mark on their profile. And the reason I do that is because if I'm in like not a bind, but if I'm coming up on the end of the sale and I know that I could, just need a little bit more to get towards, or to get over that hump for that goal, I can call these people that have purchased in sales in the past and be like, hey, just wanted to check in on you, see how you're doing. I know you love a good deal. And that's how I get those people. So I keep track of who has ordered separate from who's not interested, just because I like to market to them separately. My most important list that I think everyone should be using is having a year-round hot list. This is an Excel spreadsheet that I have in Google Sheets. Essentially, it's color-coded. Actually, do I have the ability to share my screen here? Let's see. No. Any chance I could share my screen, Matt?
We just got to make you a co-host. So Brian would have to do that.
All right, not a big deal. I just figured I'd check. So anyway, so a hot list, I'll basically just describe it to you guys. So it's an Excel spreadsheet where I put the name of the person, I put the date that they've reached out to me or that we've had some sort of communication, I put what they're interested in, be it a trimmer, be it sharpening, be it I want a catalog, any type of interest in anything that they've indicated to me, they immediately go on this list. And then I put what source they're from. Was it a text? Was it an email? Was it a phone call? And I keep track of this because I just don't want anybody to fall through the cracks. And like I said, I do color code the list. So my main colors that I use are green, red, and blue. Green means they've been taken care of. Either they've purchased, we've set up the sharpening, or whatever they were interested in has been taken care of. We're good to go. Red means it was a no for whatever reason. Something didn't work out. They aren't ready to do it yet, whatever. Blue means I have quoted them a price and I'm waiting to hear back from them or waiting for approval. They're white if we haven't nailed down what they're looking at or they haven't asked for a price quote yet. They've just indicated some sort of interest or anything like that. I do also utilize purple for people that need to be followed up with at a later time. So that way they kind of stand out to me as I go through the list, just as a reminder of when I need to reach out to somebody. I'll also put in like, if I need to follow up with somebody at a certain time, when that's going to be. And this I keep open on my computer year round, and I'm constantly going through because when a sale starts, the first people that I want to go to are my hot list, people who are hot, they're warm, they've indicated interest already. Just makes me start off with some wins. So that's a really, really big deal for me. Basically just becomes my Bible during sale promos. It's the first thing that I look at every day when I start work. On that initial sale launch day where I send out an email, I might not get like a huge response via email. And I don't typically do click calls on the same day of the first email, just to avoid overwhelming them and giving them time to actually look through. So I save that for after they've gotten my text marketing. So who am I calling then on that first day? It's my hot list, the people who I've had something on their wish list already. Hey, guess what? It's on sale now, Mrs. Jones, and accepting any inbound inquiries and following up with those on those first couple of days. Another thing is responding to people's inquiries ASAP. I've heard of some people who will like reserve a certain day for follow-up, but the thing is that you really need to turn over those people right away. You'll turn over more orders much quicker rather than waiting for a designated follow-up time. And I know it's not like the best for your mental health to have texting base and your email open 24/7. I'm definitely not saying do that, but this is temporary. We're in a push, we're in a sale promotion. It's something that you got to be on top of it. And you want to catch them when they're thinking about it. Plus, it's going to save you on follow-up time later. If you have somebody who's texting you right now, that means that they're ready to talk. They've got their phone on them. So trying to respond right when you can get them is the best way to do it. And when you send out a text message promotion, you want to allot for at least about 2 hours in your schedule for every 500 messages that you send. The other day I sent out like 1,600 messages, and I spent easily 4 hours just sitting at my computer doing text follow-up. So plan accordingly. I find that during my sale promotion, I tend to avoid events, or at least like ones that are more than 2 days or so, just because I want to maximize my follow-up. But for example, during the holidays, that can be a little bit harder. So it might be unavoidable with service events or malls or whatever you have going on. Just make sure that, for example, if your sale is supposed to end on a Saturday, you don't want to be working an event that day when it's like your last day to be doing follow-up. So just plan your follow-up accordingly around any other things that you have going on in your schedule. And then that way you're not like also working at an event or where it might be hard for you to make phone calls, something like that, towards the end of your sale promotion on a day where you really should be doing follow-up. I talked about the color coding on my hot list. My main thing is that I want that thing to look like a Christmas tree. I want it to be red or green. I want a yes or a no. And that's always my goal, is making sure that every single person is either red or green on that list. Because I don't want somebody to fall through the cracks. I don't want them to miss out on something. I talked about always ending a text or an email, also like follow up with a question. So every time I quote somebody and like, I don't know, let's say it's a garden tool set. And I'm like, all right, that's going to be $244 plus tax. Sound good? That's always my immediate response to everything is, hey, sound good? Question mark. I want them to respond right away. I'm never just leaving a price quote without any sort of like action related something in the text. Or asking like, what color do you want that in? Anything like that. Just what you would normally do when you're at an event. Texting is easy, by the way. Making the call, not as easy. However, you have a greater opportunity to build your relationship over the phone and also upserve. When you're in a quick pinch, I've definitely just texted somebody and been like, hey, you can just send me your credit card over text. That's an easy way to do it, but it's not going to be what's going to build the most CPO. The best thing is going to be get them on the phone, talk to them, hey, just so you know, you're at the 15% off level right now. If you were to add blank, then you'd be able to bump up to 20%. What do you think about that? And you're just working more on building that relationship and also upserving. So take orders over the phone whenever possible. If you do have an event, by the way, one thing that I learned from Josh is simply just asking the customer, hey, how late or how early can I call you? So if I'm texting with them and they're like, all right, I want to do it. Instead of me just doing it over text, I'll be like, hey, I'm at this event right now. How late can I call you tonight? Or how early can I call you tomorrow morning? Just again, rather than text. Do you have a plan for when you're on the go and somebody calls you and you need to take an order? I personally travel with a notebook. It does not leave my side during sale promotions. So if I'm driving, I will literally pull over and take an order rather than having to call them back later. That way I can just pull over right at the order. One last key strategy here with follow-up is going to be piggybacking. If you guys aren't doing this, this should be like the biggest thing you take away from my message today. I just had a guy who he started the sale promotion, was buying a galley, called me Saturday and bought 2 more galleys just because we did what's called piggybacking. So if you don't know what piggybacking is, it's essentially telling the customer, hey, I get access to this discount on your credit card for the next 30 days. And that's been really great for a lot of my clients, Mark, because it makes it easier when they want to add on to the order, since all that you have to do is just text me and I get to piggyback the discount that you've already earned. So if anything comes to mind, or you want to knock out something for yourself or as another gift, just shoot me a text and I can get it ordered for you right away at the same discount or better. And this is another reason, by the way, why I am keeping people that have ordered from me on their own list for the sale promotion, because then I can follow up with them during the piggyback window and be like, hey, were you still thinking about this? Is there anything else you wanted to bump onto that order? Blah, 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 blah. And I share that with every single client who places an order during the sale promotion, because you just never know. Or you have the people who feel rushed because they're like, oh, the sale's going to be ending. And it's like, hey, just so you know, you still have 30 days to have access to the sale pricing. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Just making sure you follow up with that. The last part that I wanted to cover with you guys was some things that I had learned through last year's sale promotions that I'm carrying with me into this year's. A couple of things that I wanted to see more from myself this year was a gold client program and more top list incorporation. So people who have either purchased a lot from me, purchased several times from me, been really great with giving me referrals, just creating some sort of program and making those people feel special. So one thing I did earlier this year around Valentine's Day, just my top 5 clients, Yeti was doing a sale on like their tumblers, and I engraved the tumblers for these 5 different clients, and just saying like sharpest customer in whatever town that they're from. And it was something that they all really, really appreciated. And I really enjoyed being able to do that, just making them feel special. Also, just more outgoing follow-up outside of the text messages and incoming, like inbound inquiries I was getting. Just making the calls was not something I was super focused on last year. And when I told Josh and Luke that, they were like, I'm sorry, you sold 85 grand on 3 sales promotions without making outgoing phone calls. And I was like, yeah, but now that's what I'm doing this year, is actually sitting down, making the phone calls, doing the clip list. And the last thing is also just actively asking for referrals with every single person. That was not really something that was a big focus of mine before. And now I'm like, why am I not building this up and talking about, hey, just so you know, they get access to special pricing, plus you get a free gift, or you get this, whatever it is that you want to build up. That's something that is just really awesome for connecting your customers. Just today, I had somebody who was like, hey, I hear you know this guy. And I was like, oh yeah, they've been on my list for a while, but they still haven't bought from me yet. And they're like, oh yeah, we were both talking about how much we love our Cutco gal. And then I texted the other person. I was like, hey, so you know so-and-so. And he was like, yeah, when's the next event you're going to be at? We want to buy the flatware. And I was like, sweet. How about I get you tickets to the flower show in June? And he was like, all right, we're in. And that's just something that was like an easy connection. So basically, I know this is kind of a lot of information here, but what we mostly cover was just strategic promotion through different mediums, through text, through email, through phone call, voice drops, physical mail, social media. We also talked about follow-up strategy and organization, having lists, ways that you can attack text messages, certain types of follow-up, different things there. And then also the last thing is just some things that I wish that I had incorporated more that I would love to share with you guys. So that's essentially what I got for you. I have time to answer any questions if somebody has them. But again, I'm just really honored to be here. So thanks guys for having me.
Stacie, can I ask real quick? I should have made you a co-host at the beginning, but I'm a giant dodo and I didn't. And I realized I stepped off camera because I was watching you on the TV in my office, and I was like, wow, that's not a good look. But I made you co-host. Could you screen share? You talked about the color coding, if you don't mind. But I would love to see actually what that looks like, and maybe you just kind of walk us through one more time real quick, if you don't mind. But I'd sure love to see that.
No, I don't mind at all.
And then after that, Anthony, we'll throw it to you. I know you had a question or two as well.
All right, can you guys see this okay?
Yep, we can see it great.
So, perfect. This is my hot list. So you can see here, this is right where my sales started, 426. So these are all the people that have been added to my hot list since. You see a lot of green, a little bit of red, some purple, some blue, and then some white. Those are people that have just either we haven't connected for whatever reason. They were really, what's it called? Vague in what they were wanting, stuff like that. So essentially what I do here is this, again, the second somebody gets on or reaches out to me. So like Joe here, for example, reached out to me on the day the sale started, said he needed sharpening. And he reached out to me via email, and I got that figured out for him. Same thing with, David here. He wanted some sheets via email, got that figured out. Charlene had asked me about a fisherman at a drop point. She wanted like some stupid, crazy, ridiculous deal that I couldn't do. And so that didn't work out. So that was a no. But, and then, for example, like people like Kent, he asked for some recommendations. We just haven't been able to nail down a time to really talk yet. But I have him on here, and I continue to follow up with him. Somebody like John wanted to know the next time that I'm going to be at a certain military base. So I put him on here in purple to remind him when I'm going to be there, things like that. So blue means that I've quoted them a price. We just haven't closed it for whatever reason. Paul here asked for the price of a spreader for his coworker, so we haven't got that closed yet. Things like that. Some people that I've just added today. But yeah. Any questions about the hot list here? What I've got going on?
No, I love that. I love the color coded. It's visual and it's detailed. And I think that's the great thing to see. I got to tell you, low key, my favorite tip you threw out there out of everything was that for every 500 messages, you have 2 hours blocked off for follow up in your schedule, because that's the kind of stuff that we just don't schedule the time for. And so it ends up slipping. I always tell my managers, if it's not in your schedule, it's not in your plan. And so it's easy to say what you're going to do, but if you can't literally show where it is in the schedule, it's just never going to happen. That's such a great discipline. Like, I think that's a low key assassin tip you just gave there that you very quickly slipped in a bunch of other things, by the way. That was amazing. Anthony, let's kick it to you real quick, buddy. I know you had a question or two.
Yeah. Hey, Stacie. Two questions. So first one, how do you, or like when you're running your sales, what are the, like, just brief some of the sales you do, and then do you mix them up? I've noticed for me, it's always like buy 3, get 1, 10% off this, 15% off sets, it's the same thing over and over again. Basically what your sales are. And then also like if you mix them up ever.
Great question, Anthony. So I've been toying with this a little bit. And what I've learned is just listening to the people who have mastered this before me, and I don't mess with what works. So I debated doing like price thresholds at one point, because one thing that I came across was like I would have somebody who would want like a K-bar and a lockback, and that right there is over $300, and that technically with the sale I normally run, it's 10% off 2 items. But then I have somebody who wants like 6 table knives, and then they get 20% off that. And so I was like, oh man, that doesn't like feel right. But, there is only so much flexibility that we have. So my standard sale promotions that I do are 10% off 2 items, 15% off 3 to 5, 20% off 6+. And then also box sets. I always exclude garden tools, unless it's the 5-piece set with the garden bag. I'll give them 10% off and just charge myself for that. But I exclude garden tools, wellness mats, and cookware and sheaths from the sale. Just because cookware, it's already bundled, discounted from Cutco. We can't really do anything on that. Maybe I'll throw in some free stuff with it instead. Wellness mats, kind of self-explanatory. We don't make a lot on those. Same thing with sheaths and garden tools. So I keep it pretty standard that way. On the occasion, like where somebody's like, they just want one knife and, they're a good customer, I'll be like, hey, I can't do a whole lot on one knife, but I can give you at least a 5% off discount on the one. So that I'll kind of reserve. I don't do that all the time. But, and then also key thing is making sure you're always, always, always doing it off of retail pricing. So for example, I would never give 20% off of $9.57 for a galley plus stick. I'm giving 20% off the $10.89, which is the retail pricing there. And the way that I phrase it, by the way, is, hey, so that retails for this. Cutco's corporate discount for you is this, but with your preferred customer pricing, it's only this. So, hey, that retails for $10.89. Cutco corporate discounts it for $9.57, but with your preferred customer pricing, it's only $8.71. And then they're like, sweet. So,
Sweet.
Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah. I do have one more question if we have time for that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to upserving, I feel like this is probably one of the most important things with getting like the big orders during the sale that like really make the needle move. What are your like questions after you've gotten the initial order? Like what are your questions and transitions you use while on the phone with people upserving?
Great question. So one, just taking really good notes is super key, because now that I've been doing this for a while and marketing my customers for a while, I have notes for a lot of them. Making sure that I'm always asking them, hey, by the way, was there anything else you wanted to add onto your wish list? So I can let you know when it goes on sale in the future. I always ask them that question, and then, pull the, well, hey, just while we're talking today, like out of curiosity, would you think about, if I were to give you like a crazy deal, would you think about possibly bundling that to where it would make more sense to do it today during the sale? Or one thing that's good to talk about now is that we have a price increase this year. I don't tell them when it's going to be, especially because, you know, we technically don't really officially know. But I say, yeah, this is the best price that Cuppa is going to be all year because I know we have a price increase coming up in a few months. So that has been something else I've been talking about as well, especially with the sets. It's like, hey, I know you said you might not want to do it right now, but it's going to be cheaper now on sale versus the next sale when it could be raised in price. But yeah, and then always, like I said, getting them on the phone. Like I have people who, like they'll be like, oh, I want a block and whatever. And then they're just buying the block. And I'm like, oh, hey, well, by the way, would you want to see what it would be if you were to fill in those pieces for it? Or let me tell you about the upgrade program. I try and make it as uncomplicated as possible over text and just get them on something. And then over email, or not over email, over the phone, actually talk about the different programs and options that they have. So I'm not doing that. I'll be honest, I'm not doing that with every single customer that I'm talking to, depending on what they're interested in. But if it's something that does make sense for them based on like what they have or what they're looking at, then that's definitely something that I'll bring up. Is like, hey, by the way, do you mind if I just share with you some of the other programs we've got going on that might make more sense for you today? And just going with it through that.
Money, money, money. I love that. I feel, Stacie, I just typed in our chat. I think upserving on the phone sounds like its own awesome talk that we're going to have to unpack. We're going to have to pull you back in to help with that. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your just positive influence, Stacie. You're someone that's been highly requested for quite some time now. So I'm excited that we were able to get it done. So thank you for being a part of our little family here. And please let us know how we can serve you in the future.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And if there's anything else I can do for you, y'all know how to get a hold of me.
I love it.